You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast on the We Are Libertarians Network. I'm your host, Jeremiah Morrell, and as always, I'm joined by our co-host, Dakota Davis.
Hey, how's it going, Jeremiah? Episode 57 tonight.
We're on episode 57, and it's the very first episode that we've done on the YouTube Live.
That's right.
Somehow we found ourselves on YouTube.
Yep, I don't know how that happened, but we're here and we're happy about it.
We got Zuckerberg, and we've been thrown off the Facebook platform and onto the Google platform all at once.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our show about our lives in rural Indiana. It's a show about folks that are. What's this say, Dakota? It says this is a show about folks who are involved in politics.
There it is.
That's what we're doing here. We promise that our episodes are going to be a fun and an easy listen. We interview people who are influencers, elected officials, political experts, and folks who we just find interesting. On my left and on your right, we have we have county councilmen.
County council.
We've got half of the people running for half the incumbents that are running for re-election.
There's
right
no
here.
Aaron Dickin or Mark Koger in this room.
That's right. These are the Henry County councilmen. We have from District 4, Nate LaMar making his return appearance. Hello, Nate. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Glad to have you back. You're in your campaign gear. It says Nate LaMar for county council. You're running in the 4th district, which is the eastern portion of Henry County.
Eastern, northern, and southern.
Yeah, so you basically
outside of Henry Township.
Yep, yeah, you've got everything, almost everything on the east side of State Road 3, or roughly along the center line of the county to the east, excluding the center township, which is Newcastle or Henry Township. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then on the other side of the room, we have Councilman Steve Duggar. You go by Steve, right? Not Steven, or either or?
Either or, Steve. Most people call me Steve.
All right. And you're in the 3rd district. You've been elected a couple of times, and you're running for your 3rd term in the 3rd district.
That's correct.
And you have you're the two people that represent the rural part of Henry County. Everything but Newcastle, everything but the Henry Township is covered by you two. So what Nate doesn't have, you have.
Right.
So, and it's basically the western side. So Middletown, Knightstown, Shirley.
Middletown, Knightstown, Shirley.
Greensboro, Kennard.
Yes.
Sulphur Springs.
Yeah. Honey Creek. Mechanicsburg. Yes. Caddis.
Don't forget Grant City.
Grant City. Yeah. You've got, what's the little tiny hamlet just outside of Knightstown to the east?
Raysville.
Yes.
No, there's another one.
I'm thinking
Ogden, that's the one, yeah. Ogden. That's one of those on the old national road.
Ogden, though, is actually in Spiceland Township, just barely.
Oh, so that's
really?
your territory.
And about half of the Knightstown Lake Housing Edition is in Spiceland Township, believe it or not.
Man, you got the big money district, Nate.
the people in Ogden rolling in the dough.
Now, how are the people of Ogden better, or Knightstown Lake better represented from a guy that lives in Mount Summit than they are from a guy that lives on the west side of the county? How can we explain this gerrymandering?
Yeah, that's how redistricting works, Jeremiah. That's how
I guess.
Yeah, if you kind of draw a line from Sulphur Springs across the west into the county, then everything west there is in my district.
Yep.
Okay.
Now Nate has, and I kid him about this.
You're going to talk about the prison, aren't you?
He has more people than I have. he has to count the prisoners down there. What, about 2,000?
That's right. 3,000 now.
3,000.
That's why my district lost Jefferson Township during the last reapportionment.
Yeah. And I kid him, and I've told him before that he should go down there and visit some of them because I have.
You've gone down and visited them. So why can't Nate?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
See, being a pastor, you get called everywhere, and I've been asked people to go to the prison and visit relatives of theirs that's in the prison.
That's right. Yeah,
I'm visiting people in Nate's district.
We're going to get into your background, and I pulled your information off of the LinkedIn, and it was saying that you're a pastor, but there wasn't a photo of you. It just said that you're a Henry County Council District 3 representative, and I'm like, I so hope that this is Steve's, our Steve Duggar in Henry County.
Well, somebody talked me in back some years ago to signing up for LinkedIn, and I did and filled out some of it, and actually somebody else wrote a lot of that was on there.
You have a ghostwriter for your LinkedIn page?
It was my youngest son, Caleb. He lives in North Carolina now. He's the one that thought I should be on LinkedIn. So
well, it really helped for the prep of this show.
Help you find me. Yes.
Tracked you down.
Yeah.
So Dakota, this has been like a weird week for us. This is the only show we've done.
It is. It's been nice and quiet around here. Last week we had the 3 different episodes.
All we did was worked, recorded podcast, edited podcast, and planned the next podcast. That was the entire week last week.
That was all, though. It's not like it's... And write show notes for every single show. Each one of these shows takes about, I'd say about 4 hours of effort to put in. And then last week you had working a full-time job and a little bit of overtime thrown in there. And then writing all the show notes, recording the episodes, getting them up on YouTube. We had horrible audio failures for Adam Bowman's episode. It was a mess, and we're all collected now.
They're all up there. We've had some interesting times with the tech this week.
Yeah,
we are efforting a live show election the primary night, Tuesday night. We're going to send Chase Payton down to Primo for the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have him hand cell phones to people that are on the ballot as the results come in, and try to get some results and some opinions, and let people watch our show live. We're not on Facebook tonight. We're on YouTube because Facebook all of a sudden didn't want to work. A second ago, I realized that the card wasn't in the Zoom recorder, so I already know I've got an extra hour of work tonight stitching this back together because of that little trouble.
I love it.
It's been a fun time. That's all right.
It's been a great time. We've got some new equipment on the way. I'm excited. We're talking about replacing the side recorder, so that means that we'll be able to go whenever we record meetings. Mm-hmm. We'll be able to set our the recorder that we're going to buy up on the table of the officials and pull in really good audio quality from that. Do podcasts on locations and places. It's a really good thing, and that's all thanks to our Patreon subscribers and everybody who supports us on Patreon. That's a big help for us, and we're gonna try to put all that back to the people who pay attention and listen to this show.
So we have been we said once we get to $200 a month, I think it was, or $150, we were going to create this.
$150.
Once we got to $150, we were going to create a Tuesday show. So that's tinfoil time with you and Audrey. And we're about 60% of the way to our $500 a month goal, which meant we needed to actually start looking for some studio space.
We didn't expect to get there that fast.
It's coming quick. We toured a place on Tuesday night, and we think it might work out. We need a little bit more help from people so that Dakota and I don't bankrupt ourselves or find ourselves single, because he's recently married and I'm getting married in 2 months, and neither one of us want any trouble at home, so we need some help with the costs.
Hey, at least if that happens, we'll have the studio to sleep in.
Yeah. I'm not even going there.
Yep. So we did get a new Patreon subscriber, and it is promised that we give them a shout out on whenever they sign up, and that is Mr. David Herring. He signed up and pledged some of his money to us every month. We really appreciate that, David, and we got some kind words from him whenever we thanked him and put him in the private Facebook group. So always like seeing that. Always like seeing that type of thing. Lifts my spirits and makes me more motivated to do a better job.
That's right. People actually listen to this thing and watch. And
I know.
Enjoy it. And we've got county councilmen here, so we probably ought to just talk to them for a while, huh?
Maybe. This is the first time we've had 2 county council members or people running for office in general in the studio.
Yeah. It's not a debate, though, because they're both, these guys, this one worked out nicely because they're both the incumbents. So you get the last word. You've each had your opponents on the show so far. Nate, Susan Hoon was on, and then Steve, we had Peg Steffendale, and then before that, Betsy Mills was on the program. So let's get to know Steve a little bit for people that don't know him. You've been, I guess, is your primary job, you're a pastor, or you have been a pastor
right.
for about the last 30 years or so at the Jackson Park Baptist Church.
I pastored there for 29 and a half years.
Almost 30.
Almost 30
you left
years.
just before you could get that gold watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And then since then, what I've done is, like a church is without a pastor, I filled in for them and served as an interim pastor until they got one. And I've helped a couple churches during that time. And in between those times, a pastor wants to go on vacation. He'll call me, and I'll fill in for him. Or there's been different circumstances. One pastor, his wife was sick for a while, and he needed to be with her. And so I filled in for him, just different situations. So I'm not a full-time pastor anymore. I thought it was time for me to step down, and that's what I did back maybe 4 years ago or so,
Okay.
something like that.
So
I
yeah,
lost
so
track
that
of
you were
time.
there in 2012. So until 2012, at least
Yeah.
that's what your LinkedIn page
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, there you go.
So you tell me a little bit about your educational background. Where'd you go to high school and elementary school at?
I got to go to the old Morrell Elementary School. A lot
Old
of people
Morrell.
did, yeah.
Is it a Bearcat? What were the bear? What was the Bobcats? Is it Moreland Bobcats?
I think it was Moreland.
I don't know.
I think you're right. I'm not sure.
I spent a lot of time at the Moreland Free Fair with Rex Bell, shaking people's hands and looking for votes. And I'm
Nope.
pretty sure that they're the Bobcats, but I could be wrong. I was a Blue River kid
Yeah.
for a couple of years, but we were the Vikings at that point. The Moreland had already been combined with Mount Summit.
It was really. I mean, I look back and it was neat. We lived about 3 miles west of Moreland in the country, and a lot of times I'd ride my bike to school.
Yeah.
I'd take the country gravel roads, ride my bike to school, and I got to stay after a little bit and hang around town and with some friends.
So-
That was back in the day when some kids would walk home to eat lunch.
So whenever you had your kids and you were raising your kids, did you say, "Oh, back whenever I went to school, we had to ride our bikes to school, and whenever it was negative 12 degrees outside"?
Oh no!
So
But
you grew up about 3 miles west of Moreland,
West of Moreland.
so somewhere on Messick.
Right off of Messick Road.
Yeah.
Yes, if you turned south off 36 onto Messick Road, it was 3/4 mile to the first crossroad, 425.
Yep.
Turn back left, we were the first place on the right. Now there's a couple newer homes that have went in there since then, but that's where I grew up.
I grew up between 200 and 300 on Messick Road.
Really?
Between 2 and 300 north. And the York family would have lived there back in the time you were there, I'd imagine. But it's a small
That's
world.
interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. We had 3 acres and way too many goats and horses and sheep and the whole hobby
Way too
farm
many
thing.
goats.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had chickens.
So anyway, I went to the Moreland. Then we got at 7th grade. We went to Blue River, and so I got to attend Blue River, which I think Blue River was built about 73 maybe. I'm not real sure. Do you know, Nate? I was thinking early
77, because I entered 5th grade in August of 1977 at Blue River Elementary.
Oh, I'm at the high school.
Oh, the high school.
Yeah.
Probably
Early 70s.
Yeah,
I'm thinking early
70s.
They
That
have,
sounds about
they have
right.
the T-shirts that say they're undefeated in football since 1970, whatever. But I don't remember what the year is
Yeah.
exactly.
When I got into ministry, I started attending pastor school and things like that. Preparing for that, and but I've picked up some trades that actually years ago before I came up, I started out bivocational.
Okay.
And so I was a meat cutter for a long time. Now they say people change occupations, but I was a meat cutter. I worked for Rose City down here in Newcastle as a meat cutter. I started out at Jarrett's Grocery that used to be on South 18th Street, and then I went to work for Rose City. That's where I learned to butcher. And then I worked for MG Packing over in Anderson, Indiana for a while. And then from there, I went, I'd been a bivocational pastor for 7 years, and then I went full time.
So you said
in the ministry.
You said you picked up a lot of different trades.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like you're kind of an addicted hobbyist like I am. I just find different things that I like to do and do it for a little bit. And
I learned electrical. I've built 2 new houses myself. And
two
so
things.
I became a builder. I could do electrical. I can do plumbing. I can do heating.
You were planting or doing some. You were on a tractor.
I was on a
couple
tractor
hours
before
ago.
I came in here. Yeah,
So you're
running a disc.
Yeah. Okay. So you're farming.
Just for ourselves. Yeah. Just planting some hay and grass mix for horses.
For your own animals, your own deal.
Right.
And you've tried to pick up the banjo too, just like I'm trying to do currently.
I've tried playing the banjo.
It's difficult.
I've tried playing the guitar. Not been very successful at that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have also built 2 new houses.
Have you?
And I did electrical work, and am trying to learn to play the banjo.
Hey, we got
do
some
some
things in
heating.
common.
You're trying to be the Steve Duggar when you grow up.
Yeah.
You probably ought to go work in a packing
Going
plant
down
for a
that
while.
path.
Go to
Maybe.
Boar's Head or Dot Foods.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
Well, I helped build the Boar's Head factory, so
Did you?
maybe does that count for anything? I had to do a lot of work in the raw and hazmat waste meat area, and it smelled horrid. It smelled bad. Just going to put that out there.
Well, if the Planning Commission had done their job and kept that stuff out of our county, we'd be fine, wouldn't we?
Yes. No more changes. Gosh dang it.
All right, let's get to know Nate a little bit. Nate's a returning guest, so our folks that have been around a while, they've already met him once, so we don't have to spend a lot of time getting to know Nate, but he's got the resume of the stars here. You grew up in Hagerstown, I know that.
Well, the Blue River area.
Okay.
Yeah, I went there for elementary school, and then in 1979, my family moved to Hagerstown. My dad had bought a farm over there in 77, and after a couple of years of having to drive over there at least once a day, he said, we need to move to Hagerstown. So we did. So I went to grades 7 through 12 at Hagerstown and graduated from there.
Gotcha. All right. And then from there, you went off and joined the Army.
That's correct.
And you had a semi-professional career with the Army. It wasn't just 4 years and you're out. You want to explain your Army service a little bit?
Well, 7 years active duty total. Senator Lugar appointed me to West Point. And at West Point, I studied general engineering like all cadets do, along with Middle Eastern studies. Once I graduated from there, I went to Field Artillery School in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and then the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California for their German program. And then I went off to my unit in Germany.
So how many languages do you speak?
I'm fluent in German, French, and Spanish, and I can get by in Arabic.
Okay. So were those intentionally, were you just interested in languages, or did you intentionally pick them up because it was convenient for the Army?
I think the Lord has, just blessed me with a gift for languages, but not a gift for higher math. I failed a semester of calculus at West Point and had to retake it in summer school.
Interesting. Well, we all had. I had to retake algebra once too. That's the way life goes. I'm the world's worst. I'm a salesman. My boss is like, every time your math skills are involved, he questions me. You sure? Oh, Excel said it's fine. I'm sure we're probably okay. So then, in between your time in when your Army career ended, you spent some time teaching in the education side. You said you spent about a year and a half at was it Anderson or Muncie? Daleville.
Yeah, I taught French at Daleville for a year and a half. Now, prior to that, I had taken substitute jobs, temporary contracts here and there. But I was at Daleville the longest. But at that point, I decided on a career change and went and got an MBA in international management.
All right.
And that led to your career. You've been with Draper now for just about 18, 19 years, somewhere in there.
Coming up on the 19th anniversary.
19 years.
Awesome.
And in your role there is you're in sales, international sales department. So every time we turn around, Nate's in Israel or some other far off dot on the map.
Dubai. I've heard him say Dubai. You're all over the place, man. I bet that's actually a pretty rewarding career, getting to travel like that.
I like what I do for a living, but I'll admit, it gets tough the older our daughters get.
Yeah.
And I've got a senior in high school now and a sophomore.
Right. Yeah, that would be. Mm-hmm. But it would still be pretty neat to go to those places. And you already know all the languages, so there's not that barrier there. Got that going for you. But let's see. So whenever you're in the military and you are a linguist officer,
mm-hmm.
who are you working with and in that role? What's the...
In Germany, I was on an on a German army base, one of 40 Americans working with 2,000 Germans, and I was responsible for intelligence and security.
That's really neat.
So yeah, that's basically
really cool.
what I did.
There's a friend of mine in high school that we were actually on the history academic team together, and after high school he went on to be a linguist in the Army.
What's
I always
his
wondered
name?
that. Crap. Is it first name Jonathan? But
Okay.
I can't remember his last name for the life of me.
Okay.
But yeah, he was 1 year older than me, and I've always thought that was really neat because I have tried to pick up other languages. I've tried to learn Spanish and things. I can do sign language, but like actually talking, it's really difficult for me. I think it's really interesting how
It helps
how
being
your
in the
brain
environment.
picks that up, and my brain has a difficult time with it. It's really interesting to think about that. All right.
In other
Yeah,
news, this is our first time on the with the YouTube page, and it looks like about 15 people have found us live. So if you guys have found us, you can actually go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and the next time we get forced over to the YouTube side, you'll get a notification that we went live, so you'll know. I just finally figured out how to get the chat working, so I can actually see the chat messages that are coming in, and it looks like Brent Spicer. So I can finally see the messages.
Awesome.
That's a thing, I guess.
I just
feel like we're flying blind over
we
here.
have in common again.
What's that? Oh, the sign language? Awesome. That is really cool. How does that happen? That's so weird.
So they're signing now, Nate, on our podcast, audio podcast, and they're signing each other. You're going to have to help me carry the show if this is the way this is going to go on.
Yeah, that's right. Me and Steve will have our own private conversation.
Yeah.
And if you want to hear what he has to say, then you have to watch the yeah.
I
then
think
you have
Steve
to watch
just
the
told
live
him to
video.
steal second base.
No, I said yeah.
Ron Romine is watching, and he says YouTube sucks. Well, right now Facebook is terrible because it wouldn't let us go live at all. So if you want to see the show live, this is the platform we're stuck with.
That's right.
All right. So going down the list of what Dakota planned for us here, he's just got us opening with the most controversial issue in the history of our county.
Yep, we're going to put it out there, and we're going to get it out there now and out of the way in case we talk about it for forever.
Did you bring today's newspaper with you?
I forgot it downstairs.
You left it downstairs.
I left it in the kitchen.
So since Sunday, there have been these half-page ads that have been in our Courier Times, the local paper, and it's been emails, printed emails. There have been some Freedom of Information requests that have gone out from citizens, and I'm not sure where they've all come from. I know the one that was in Sunday's paper came from Rush County, and it was an email that was published about a week and a half ago. And Nate, we're going to ask you about it because you talked about it in the county council meeting on Wednesday. There basically was Lee Morning is the county attorney. Is that correct for Rush County?
County attorney.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Lee said, "Hey, we're negotiating or in discussions with the developer, and we have certain things that we want to have laid out." It was if I don't have it in front of me, I should have prepared better, but I didn't. But I'll try to go from memory. Lee had said that they were concerned about road use, and they were concerned about one other topic, and was it the abatements?
No, I believe the decommissioning agreement.
It was it was the bonds. Yeah, you're right. It was decommissioning bonds. So making sure that those were in place, and then the Lee was skeptical. And it was an email addressed to, I think, our economic development folks. You were included as the county council president, and I think the county council and maybe the commissioners.
The Rush County
County commissioner
president was included as well.
Yeah, so the Rush County commissioners and council president were involved, and you replied, and this is the email that got printed in the paper, was Lee's original email, and then your response, and basically said, "Thanks for making sure we have a united front. We support you." And you were saying, "Hey, do we need to have another meeting?" That was printed, and then there have been a number of subsequent emails talking about wind, and I think, as best I can tell, it really hasn't had a narrative printed with it, other than that our county officials are talking to wind developers. I think the theme is, well, there's some sort of there's discussion taking place, so then that's nefarious. So I guess, do you want to summarize what your comments were Wednesday, and we'll take the topic from there and then go from that point.
I was in Israel at the time on a business trip, and I was just saying, sounds like we need to have a lunch meeting at the Flamingo in Dunreath, since that's about halfway between Newcastle and Rushville. That way I and the Rush County Council President can be there, just to observe, to take notes, to know what's going on. Likewise, the Rush County Commissioners were invited, and the Henry County Commissioners. But the Henry County Commissioners, I believe they appointed Ed Ganos to be the point man on that. The Rush County Commissioners, at one meeting they had Paul Wilkinson. At another meeting they had Bruce Levi.
Okay.
I never did meet Mark Bacon, but it was just discussions. I mean, no official action was taken at all. Yeah.
Yeah, so as I understand it, because I spent a little bit of time on the park board, as long as you don't have the majority of the council together, you guys can have meetings and interactions, and it's probably, in my view, and I can only speak for myself, in my view, that's kind of your responsibility, is to have negotiations and to have the county's interest at heart when you're in having these discussions.
That's correct.
I'm all for good scandal, but I'm still trying to understand where the smoking gun is on this one.
You tell me. I don't know. That's why we have, various committees and liaison appointments, like the abatement committee. That comprises Dick Bauslog, Mike Falls. Yeah, the two of them meet in private with various companies, seeking to do business in Henry County to determine whether or not this is a good bet for an abatement.
So an abatement, that committee will meet and vet and go through a process, and then they will report back to the council,
and make
then
a
you guys
recommendation one way or the other.
Right, and then you get to make your decision based upon their recommendation or their committee report as to what direction you're going to go.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Dick Bauslog and Mike Falls, for example, they would have met with, say, the Boar's Head people before the rest of us would have.
Okay. So, Steve, I guess during this time, I'm not familiar with your position, I guess, on wind and where you've been or what your current position is. But I guess we're going to ask each of you, with the issue of abatements, because as we've talked about this on the show a number of times, there's kind of two roles that council has. One's a pretty big role with regard to abatements, because you said, you're the fiscal side of the county, so you decide if any development is going to get an abatement. And then on a lesser degree, you have one seat on the Planning Commission. So you have one with regard to land use and this.
I'm not on the Planning Commission.
You're not on the Planning Commission now. No. I don't know who, after this cycle, I don't know which one of the seven will be that person.
Fleming is on there currently.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying in the next cycle, I don't know which person. I don't know how that's set, if you just make a nomination each time or if you rotate through districts or what the system has been. So I guess, Steve, we'll ask your general theme on wind, if you're supportive generally, if you're supportive of abatements now, if you've been in the past. What's your position?
Well, that was a lot of questions.
It's an open-ended question.
Start with one.
All right. So are you in favor of abatements now?
For wind.
For wind.
For wind. Now, I don't want this to sound like a political answer.
Well, you've been reelected once already, so
okay.
you're going to get labeled as being a politician, whether you like it or not.
I've been
establishment.
Yeah, I've been. Here's the thing. I think it is unfair. Now, I'm not being critical of Nate, okay, and I want you to know that, Nate. It's just that on the council, we don't always agree, okay? And my position is, I think it would be unfair for me to say that I would vote for an abatement or against an abatement with not hearing them first. Now, he explained Mike Thalls and Dick Bauslog. They talk to a prospective company that's coming in, they listen to them, they come to the council, but then that company appears before the council at the same time, and they lay out everything for the council. And I think it's unfair to them, for me, to say yay or nay right now without hearing anything whatsoever. Now in the two, or in the, you'll have to refresh my memory on this. We offered a tax abatement for Nordex, didn't we?
No.
We haven't offered a tax abatement
Nordex.
This has been years ago.
We met Apex.
We met
Nordex became Apex.
Okay. We met at Memorial Park, 5 years ago, 6 years ago now?
Yeah, I barely remember a public meeting. You're right, it was about 5 or 6 years ago.
But it was unanimous. It was unanimous that the whole county council voted, but everybody was there. They did they explained sound, they explained everything, and it was a unanimous vote that we offered that. So I don't think that it's fair to say that I won't give an abatement for me.
So you're saying
I'm speaking for me.
until you hear back from the abatement committee. So that would
that'd
be Dick
like you
and,
come into Henry County. I don't know what make up a business name.
Right.
You're going to sell the stuff that you cleaned out of Boar's Head down there for dog food, and you're going to start this factory. And I say, no, I'm not going to give you no abatement. I think that I should hear your presentation first. I should hear what you've got to say. And then I should be able to ask you questions. And then I can decide, once I have your facts of what you're doing, say, yeah, I'll be for an abatement. Now, there's a two-part to that. And you're probably going to get to that. On this abatement that's being talked about, which I don't think will ever come before the county council. I don't think they'll ever come and ask for an abatement. Now, that's my opinion. They've got some hurdles to cross. I mean, the commissioners have been working on this, and it's in the lawyers' hands now, and whatever they're going to come up with, which I don't know if anybody knows yet or not. But
the commissioners are working on a wind ordinance, right? The WEX ordinance.
The ordinance.
All right.
Okay, so they're working on that, and it's in the attorney's hands. Okay, when that comes back, it's my understanding that they will then vote or decide to vote. But if they vote to approve it or they don't vote to approve it, and this is my opinion, I don't think that there'll be Calpine. Let's just call it what is Calpine. I don't think they'll be coming before the council to ask for a tax abatement.
So the steps that have to happen, they're right now there is a wind ordinance, but I guess there's an expectation that it's going to change. We're going to have you would have to have a commission approved use again from the county, from the county planning commission and then the county commissioners, and then at that time you would come to the council for an abatement on a project.
They would then, if they wanted to come before the council and ask for an abatement. Once they had gone through those steps, then yes, they would come before the council and ask for a tax abatement.
Okay.
So to clarify what you were saying before with the abatement committee, it's not specific to wind. It's for any company that wants to ask for a tax abatement in the county.
Anybody.
So it's not like you made this committee or the council made this committee just for the sole purpose of the wind companies.
Right.
I just wanted to make that clarification.
It's been in place for any business coming into the county that would be asking for a tax abatement. Mike Thalls and Dick Balslog would meet with them, and then that company. We just approved a tax abatement for the farm down in
Knightstown? The Hops farm?
Yes. Hops. Yeah. We approved that. Okay, they came before us, and then they explained their venture, what they were going to do and all, and we voted to give them a tax abatement.
All right.
I think that's a fair process. Now, that's just me.
So we have actually asked that of people who are running for county council and people who are running for the commissioner's seat. No matter what, would you be a hard no? We've asked that after the initial tax abatement thing.
Would I be a hard no?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying most of the people that have come in have said probably not or no, and we've always asked, are you sure, or is there other stipulations? And you just told us that you don't think it's fair because you're not on that abatement committee, right? You want to hear what they have to say before you think that you can make a fair and sound judgment on that.
Right.
Which I think is
I think that's reasonable.
So a judge doesn't go into a courtroom before he hears the lawyer, right, and say I'm going to vote guilty or I'm going to convict you no matter what. So
well,
that's
as a business owner, and I'm not being critical of anybody, and anybody knows me, I call it like I see it. You want to know what's on my mind? Ask me, but you got to ask me. And I'll tell you what's on my mind.
Well, yeah, because you can't check your Facebook. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, you won't find me on Facebook.
Steve is the hardest guest to book in the history of the podcast.
Hey, I just, that's me. That's the way I think. That's the way I feel.
I almost had to drive out to your house on Mechanicsburg Road.
Well, yeah, that the address is not right. So, I don't live on Mechanicsburg Road.
So we had here, are they still a possibility without tax abatements? You don't think they're going to come and ask for tax abatements?
I personally, I don't think they will. I'd about bet the farm they won't. That's how strongly I feel.
I haven't heard that opinion yet. So.
That's my opinion.
All right. I'll take it for what
you realize
it's
that you're in a race, though, that one of your candidates has entirely been this has been the number one issue for at least for the people running for county office this year. It's all been about an issue that you're saying, you don't think it's actually going to happen anyway.
No, and you know what? It don't matter. I mean, it's like this, Jeremiah. I believe being the bullseye of God's will. If His will is for me to get reelected, I'll be reelected. I don't care how many signs anybody puts up. I don't care what they say. If it's His will, it'll happen. And if it's not, I won't be the next councilman, because my future doesn't hang on being a county councilman. But what is important that I be in the bullseye center of His will. And that's the way I view this race, not what people say good about me or bad about me. Hey, I signed up to run again, and you do your part, but, at the end of the day, I want the Lord's will more than I want the people's will.
I think that's a very respectable answer for sure.
Shifting back to the other side of the room, and Nate, and your comments that you made on Wednesday, you made it known on the abatement issue that you no longer support wind abatements. Is that correct?
That's correct. For as long as I've studied this issue, I've just come to the conclusion that the population density in Henry County is too high. And not only that, but just, I'm not tone deaf to constituents. Just gauging the volume of emails that I've received, phone calls, letters, that type of thing. I mean, that's why I've been against Calpine from the start, because it was so clear-cut. I've changed my views on the projects in the South, but it's a moot point now because their commission-approved use has expired. And on county council, 4 of the 7 of us have pledged to vote for no more abatements anyway.
And the Economic Development Corporation, Corey Murphy, has said that the county is no longer pursuing wind energy.
That's correct. I serve on the EDC Executive Committee by virtue of being county council president.
Okay.
And we discussed that 2 years ago. It was at some point in 2016 when we had the EDC change from a proactive stance regarding wind farms to merely a reactive stance. So now Corey and his staff can just answer questions, of wind developers, but not go out and pursue them,
right?
Like they used to. So it's essentially a dead issue here in Henry County.
All right, thanks for clarifying that with the proactive stance and the reactive stance.
Do you think, Nate, they'll come before the council and ask for abatement?
No. I think they see the writing on the wall and know that the public sentiment is there. And, enough council members have publicly stated that they will vote for no more wind abatements. Clay Morgan, Robin Fleming, Harold Griffin, and myself. Yeah. So that's a majority right there. So I don't think they will.
And I think every candidate in the 1st district that's on the ballot at this point, I guess I haven't talked to Pat Cronk, but everybody said no in that as well. So you're at 5-2 at most.
Now I want to go ahead and say this, because I'm not no coward about it. Say they come before us. Say they do. And they ask for a tax abatement. And, I've listened to, the talk and things about wind. I take this into consideration, and that's the farmers. Now, if everything's what I think it is, in all probability, I would vote for a tax abatement for them. I'm more in that direction than anybody.
Okay.
Okay. And I rest my case on this. I'll be 58 years old. And, man, I'm old enough to remember living in the county all my life. Farmers that have farmed through bad times, no rain. I mean, I'm talking tough times to have what they have. They've paid high interest rates. They've sweat and labored back when the old machinery wasn't what it is today to have what they've got. And our farmers they pay about approximately 73% of the taxes in Henry County. This is a farming community. And what right do I have to tell the farmer what he can and cannot do with the land that he owns, that he's paid high interest and paid for and sweat and labored and poured his life into? I don't feel like I have any right to tell him what he can and cannot do with the land that he owns.
That's the that's the 1,000-pound gorilla. Is it's the are you prohibiting on that side versus the tax policy side? All right, so let me ask this question of each of you. And I guess we'll start with you, Steve. Would you tie your abatement approval to a setback distance? Say the setback needs to be 1,500 feet or 2,000 feet in an agreement. Is there a number that you're comfortable with, or is that tied into your view?
That's not my job. That's the
commissioner.
That's the commissioner's job. They've already done that when they've gone through every step
with their WEX ordinance
when they get
through
to us.
But I'm saying, I guess if somebody said, I want an abatement, and it said it was 4,000 feet, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'll grant an abatement at 4,000 feet, but you wouldn't say no at 2,000 feet at that point. That's just
not the process,
right?
Yeah, that's already been signed and done. The only thing that they are coming to the council for is abatement and abatement only.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess that would be you almost play a backstop at that point. If they got to that point and you're like, no, I'm going to protect the county, and I'm going to say, I don't feel like the distance is enough, so I'm going to vote no. But if you came back and you had, it was 3,000 feet or 4,000 feet, then you think it would be acceptable.
You're confusing me a little bit.
I confuse myself sometimes too.
Okay. So you're saying, in my opinion,
right?
In my opinion, if the setback was a different number, whatever number pleased me,
right,
then I might vote for.
Yeah, I guess I'm asking, is that in your filter, in your matrix of how I make a decision?
No.
Okay, all right.
No, it's not. Whatever company it is, okay. Company A, Company B comes before us. They've met all the requirements of the county. They've passed, they've signed everything. They're coming there for an abatement. So other officials before me have said, the Planning Commission has said, the commissioners have said that it's all right for them to do business in our county. And that's the laws that we have in Henry County. So if they've done everything that they're supposed to do, then what my job to do is to consider whether to give them a tax abatement or not.
All right. And from the council seat, do you have any interest in being on the Planning Commission again, or you just want to be? You have different areas you want to serve?
I haven't really thought about it. I wanted to give it up, and I did. And Robin took it, and she served a year, and she's in her second year. It's been usually a job that nobody wants much.
Got a lot of arrows aimed your way, don't you?
It was kind of my turn. I was low on the totem pole, and it was my turn to take it, and so I took it.
Okay.
And I served on it a year. I did my time for a year.
Well, yeah, but if you're there for more than 8 years,
I'll have to do it again.
Everybody does it a year. Yeah,
I'll have to do it again.
It becomes your turn again. Doesn't it?
Right. I will have to do it again someday if I'm reelected.
Yes, sir. All right, Nate. I guess we'll ask your side on the Planning Commission. Have you served on the Planning Commission yet?
No, I haven't.
Do you have any interest in doing that in your role?
I'll be honest with you, I don't.
You've served as the president. I'd imagine that as the president, you have different responsibilities or different sides you get wrapped into.
That's correct. Some of which are out of county, like representing Henry County on regional planning organizations, such as the Eastern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. That's the Richmond-anchored group. That's where the office is. And that's Randolph, Wayne, Union, Fayette, Rush, and now Henry counties.
Okay.
Wow. I didn't realize that. I didn't even know that. Learn something new every day, and that you learn things on Boss Hog of Liberty every week.
That's right. Sometimes 3 times a week, like last week.
Yeah.
All right. So another, I think we've covered wind as much as we can, or as much as I can stand to cover wind at this point.
So both of your guys' positions here are, just to clarify it, is neither one of you think that this is an issue for the county council race in this election, because it's both of you guys, in your opinions, stated that you didn't think that they would even come to the council for an abatement.
It's an issue because a lot of people out there are concerned, but the fact of the matter is it's currently dead. The commission-approved uses have expired for both NextEra and Apex, and Calpine never has come to the table.
Yeah, I guess I should have organized my speech a little bit better for that, but yeah.
And both of us, I think Nate agree, we don't either one think they ever will.
At this point, no.
I don't think they will.
The public sentiment is too strongly against.
All right. Well, Now we are on to our next topic. Going down the list here is fiscal responsibility. You guys are both running on the Republican ticket, so and part of that cornerstone has always been fiscally conservative, fiscally responsible party platform. So what? And of course, the county council, like we've talked about a bunch of times, is the financial arm of the county. So what areas do you see in the county? Do you think that we could improve on? Do you think we could improve on, or do you think we're quite healthy now? I guess we'll start with you, Nate.
Here's my concern. The Department of Local Government Finance every year is squeezing, in particular, the health department and park departments. Their budgets become smaller every year, not just in Henry County, but counties throughout Indiana. And I think part of that is they are trying to force counties to have higher user fees for things like a birth certificate, a death certificate,
right,
vaccinations, park shelter rental, things like that. And so I think that's why those two branches of government get picked on the most. And it's unfortunate
because it can be exploited more.
Right.
And I remember the last time that you came on the show, you talked about how you were very, very proud of what our health department's able to do in the county with the limited amount of resources that they have.
That's correct.
I remember that because you were big on that, and I think, and we hadn't heard that before. So it's kind of stuck in my brain.
Henry County has one of the largest county parks in the state as well.
Yeah. Yes.
So that exasperates, from my time in the park board, that exasperates the issue in Henry County, having a 300-acre park with all of the amenities that are there, and the buildings and the structures and the mowing and the trees. There's just an awful lot of costs and expenses that are there that really the county has to cover costs that many other areas do not have. Rush County doesn't have a county park. I don't think Delaware County has a county park. All right, on that topic, I guess we'll ask about jail as well. That's been a major topic across all of our conversations here, and some of the council candidates have come out in favor of another LOIT to pay for jail construction. We've seen estimates. Greenfield, Hancock County is looking at a $55 million bond to pay for a jail. We've seen estimates where other counties have gotten them done for around $10 million. I guess from each of you, a position on where you think the jail is, what do you think the future is for it, and what's the path forward? We'll start with you, Steve.
Well, it's very obvious that we're going to have to build a jail. Our jail has just about outlived its usefulness. It's old, and I don't know exactly how many years that we've had it. Do you, Nate?
I would estimate that the current jail was built around 1980.
Okay.
And I say that because I remember as a kid up Blue River driving past the old jail. And then we moved to Hagerstown, and then we didn't come to Newcastle as frequently then. But then I remember seeing the old jail torn down and the new jail built. So I would say about 1980.
Well, I had to go over with Sheriff McCorkle, Jay Davis, Butch Baker, I think Kim Cronk, to federal court. Our county is being sued, and it's over the jail. And so how many more lawsuits may be out there looming? And we can spend the money in lawsuits. We can build a jail. But I think we all agree. I think everybody knows that we're going to have to build a jail. And, there are studies being done and the county seeking direction on what our needs are, our assessment. And then when we find out, what's recommended for us, then we'll be looking at what the price tag's going to be.
Do you have, knowing that there's a jail coming, some way, one way or another, do you have a solution to pay for it yet in your mind, a process you want to go down, whether it's the LOIT or if it's the public safety LOIT or the new jail LOIT that the state allowed, or using, once the Justice Department, the Justice Center is paid for?
Bottom line, Jeremiah, they can say they heard it here. They can say they hear it on Boss Hog. Where am I at now?
The Boss Hog of Liberty.
Okay. Remember, I'm not on Facebook now. Okay, so they can say, Dakota, they heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
Taxpayers,
on the Boss Hog of Liberty.
You're going to have to pay for it, whether it is a LOIT or whether it is, and I'm kind of hearing this. I'm hearing that it may be because of the way state is working on changing some things right now.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a little bit that it's in the works where it may be another little tax that comes out of your paycheck.
Yeah, it's what, House Bill 1263, I think, 0.1 or 2.2%.
0.2%.
Yeah.
0.2%.
Yeah, 0.2% or 0.1%.
So, I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot of money, does it? And especially if you say it fast. But,
right. Yeah.
And you have to think about it. Point what now, Dakota?
0.1. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like such
just
a
like
small
nothing.
number.
Yeah. So, but the taxpayers in Henry County are going to have to pay for
But
it.
the thing
Well,
is that
public
we had,
safety, what we just passed 2 years ago was 0.05, right? So this would be another 50% of that roughly, or 40% of that. 0.02 is another 40% tax compared to what you did for LOIT, the last LOIT tax.
And you know, that tax there, and it was a tax that I was against all along. Up front, no, I'm against it. Well, years go by, and I finally, I see the need. I see that there's been so much that the state has cut us on that we got to have it.
well, the thing is that there's the,
And I voted
okay,
for
so
it.
there's all the different, like we talked about, it's such a minute number is what we think, right? But you add it to every other thing that we pay for that comes out of our paycheck, and then after we get our paycheck, whenever we go and buy things or we go to the county health offices, we get taxed on that. So we're taxed on the money we're already taxed at some point, there's the straw that breaks the camel's back. And if we just keep adding things on, and we want to see Henry County be a prosperous community, how can people be prosperous if they don't have any of their money from their paycheck?
I got an answer for you. Nate, you've been real good at bringing this up in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Living in Henry County is one of the cheapest counties to live in the state of Indiana.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's why I love it here.
Well,
And that can be a major selling point for us.
Sure.
In attracting.
sure. And if you live in
people
certain
here.
townships within Henry County, you even have a lesser tax rate than other townships in the county. So, when we're sitting in front of the TV watching people cry in California about the high taxes, we can say we've got it good. And we have services that we have to provide for the people. Now, getting back to your question there, we're seeing less and less. Well, I go a step further than that, Dakota. I think about this. Now, if you live in the city of Newcastle, which is in Henry County, you're getting a rate hike on your water, a rate hike on your sewer.
Yeah.
You're getting a rate hike on your trash.
Yeah, I'm blaming Aaron Dickens for that.
We are in the city of Newcastle, aren't we?
That's right.
Yeah, right here. So it's costing those people more. And as councilmen, we have to consider that as well. But yet, at the same time, you look at the overall picture. Yes, we pay our share of taxes. And I don't like taxes any more than you do. But there are some things that we just have to have as a county, and everybody has to pay their part. And I'll let Nate say something.
All right. So, Nate, your take on the jail issue, a potential tax increase on the LOIT side, or what's your thought for a path forward?
We still need to see the final study to be released by the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee. Okay, that's the study in which they hired a national consultant to do a proper evaluation of Henry County's future jail needs. In, I want to say, 2013, a county commissioner, the sheriff's major, and a county councilman traveled to Colorado to a national jail conference, and they learned there the right way and the wrong way to go about jails. Now, we don't have to look far to find the wrong way. Our neighbor to the north, Delaware County. Their current jail was obsolete the day it opened in 1991, 1992, thereabouts, Steve?
I think
Is that
you're
about right?
I think so.
Because of that, Delaware County lost a federal lawsuit that some inmates had filed. And that's part of the reason why Delaware County had, I believe, the second highest property taxes in the state of Indiana for a number of years. We don't want to make the same mistakes. We don't want to build an obsolete jail. And so that's why we need to get it right.
Yeah, that's okay. So I think that whenever Butch Baker came on, and he talked about whenever the jail was built in the 80s, and he said that even then, whenever it was very first built, it was an outdated architectural style.
He said it was the last linear jail.
Right.
Ever built, rather than the new pod system.
So we don't want to make that mistake again.
Right.
Avoid at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a lot of research, but it seems like since I've been paying attention to local politics, it's been a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
Yeah, your entire adult life, or your entire life.
Which is, which has been for, 6 years? So.
Yeah. So would you be in favor, or do you want, knowing that there's going to have to be some sort of a jail project, funding it? I've heard people say, hey, once we finish paying for the justice building, the bonds are going to end on that, and we can take that money and shift it onto a jail. We've also had candidates come on and say, hey, we want to do a LOIT, and they support that. Where are you right now on that issue?
It could
on
take
the funding side.
It could take a combination of the two. But, back to the issue that we discussed earlier regarding user fees, maybe it's time to boost some user fees that are charged on jail inmates. I hate to say it, but maybe that's what it's got to take.
So what do you mean whenever it's charged on jail inmates?
I don't know the exact terminology for it, but the sheriff explained it to me one time.
So we have a probation system where you get released, but the monitoring itself is $400 or $500. I feel like the monitoring cost that these guys have to pay ends up costing us more than if we end up housing them at a higher cost than what we're trying to get for letting them out or trying to reduce population through that. It almost seems to me like a system that
Yeah, but you don't understand that.
Probably not.
No. Okay, so, the people that monitor them are considered county employees, but are paid by the state of Indiana. And the monitoring fee is paid by those people that are in the, gosh, my mind just went blank.
Community corrections.
Community corrections. I'm on the community correction board.
Okay.
And granted, there's some that cannot pay that, but they still have to wear it. So they end up owing the money. But that money comes from the state of Indiana. It's not coming or being paid out of the budget of Henry County.
So adjusting those fees wouldn't help Henry County's bottom line?
Not a dollar.
But
not on those.
I guess in my view, anybody you can shift into that program is one less head count in the jail.
Right. Which
then, whether it's the state or just encouraging that or trying, I guess you don't have any influence over the fee structure because that's set by the state. Is that the case?
As it's been a while. I don't know, as sitting on the board, and I've sat on there for quite a while, that I can't recall any meeting that where we have changed those fees, but those fees would be, up to the board probably, but we have a cost that it costs this much money.
Right.
And there's a little bit of room there. I think it's not much that community corrections does make on that. But when an inmate loses one that's in the community correction program, we have to pay for it. But again, it is, we have grants, we have state funded money. All of the employees, even though they are, I'm going to emphasize this, they are called Henry County employees. They're not paid from Henry County. They're paid through state dollars.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess the next issue past the jail that we wanted to talk about was on the public safety side is LOIT. And that LOIT tax has been in place, I guess, 2 years, 3 years now. And you each voted for it. Councilman Morgan has said he wants a LOIT plan. So he's had some hesitancy in spending LOIT money. There was a major presentation that came before the council at the last meeting where Stony Creek Township, our far northeastern township, had about a $500,000 project that was funded from a federal grant, and they needed about $59,000, $60,000 in matching funds to make that happen. So they applied for LOIT money. Steve, you voted against that, and Nate, you voted in favor. And I guess if you guys will share your views on LOIT in general, and then this specific vote in this application. We'll start with you, Nate.
Sure. The public safety LOIT, the intention of it, a lot of people mistakenly think that it's just to help fund the sheriff's department, but it's more than that. It's to fund every aspect of public safety, be it volunteer fire departments, the Henry County Emergency Management Agency, the Newcastle City Police Department, the police departments of places like Knightstown, Middletown. I mean, the public safety LOIT is more than just the sheriff's department. Right. And unfortunately, the state legislature, when they wrote the public safety LOIT bill, they made it where only a county as a whole and then municipalities in that county could collect the public safety LOIT money. They made the mistake of leaving out the townships. Well, representing the most rural county council districts of all, I've got to look out for the rural volunteer fire departments who aren't funded by the entire townships that they serve. Instead, they're funded by, in many cases, just the tiny municipality in them.
Do you think maybe they forgot the townships because the governor meant to eliminate them and he never got around to it?
Could be. Yeah,
Sorry.
There could be something to that. I don't know. But that has got to be corrected at the state level to make the process easier. If that process were corrected at the state level, then counties would not have to grant public safety LOIT funds to volunteer fire departments. It could be handled by each of their township trustees and township advisory boards. So, and rightfully, that's how it should be. So
the Stony Creek Fire Department and the trustee came to the council. You represent them, and you advocated for, I guess you were on the committee, the committee that looked at the issue?
Yes, the ad hoc committee to study the Stony Creek Township volunteer fire department's request, as well as other volunteer fire department requests. That's myself, Dick Bauslog, and Robin Fleming.
All right. And you supported that?
Yes, I did. Because that is probably the most remote township in Henry County. And by remote, I mean it takes longer to get there than it does to any other part of the county. There's really no as the crow flies route from, say, Newcastle to Bluntsville.
Okay. All right. And Steve, on LOIT in general and the way you think LOIT funds should be spent, and then subsequently this vote that we had last week on Stony Creek.
Well, LOIT in general, as I said earlier in the show, is that originally I was against it. Then, as I see the state continue to cut, I saw the need. I've been a big advocate of the sheriffs having cars to drive. And by passing LOIT, they now get 4 new cars every year. There's other things that are, we have to equip our deputies to go out and serve our county. And, they've got to have money to be able to do that. And so I'm for the LOIT, voted for the LOIT, and as Nate said, when we originally passed LOIT, we did say this, and nothing was written down, but we said that we want to keep a portion of this LOIT money for other needs in the county that fall in that safety, category, such as fire departments. We knew that there was a possibility that there was going to be some come up. Now, moving on to, when, let me say, Mount Summit needed a truck. Actually, it seemed like in that council meeting that they weren't going to get it, and I was the one that kind of took the microphone, and I felt it's something that we should do, and the council agreed, and we voted to buy that. Then why do I turn around and vote against?
Obviously,
I
you like
don't-
Mount Summit more than Bluntsville.
I like Mount Summit better. They're closer to me. I go there and buy my pop. No,
Pop
the thing
with
that
a P.
my soda pop,
Yeah.
of a day. The thing that bothered me was I think it was about $600,000. I felt like they were being ripped off. 3 men came up after the meeting. I thought, oh gosh, here I voted against it. Here we go. They come up and said, Mr. Duggar, we want to shake your hand. I was shocked. The three guys, and I said, okay. They said, we appreciate your honesty. And I said, okay. I mean, I'm still, okay. It's coming. It's coming. They said, no. Said, we feel like that we're being taken to the cleaners on this project. Because I referred to it in the meeting as a Taj Mahal. And it's $167 a square foot. I mean,
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, guys, you could go out here and get DeBrule and Caddis to build that building and put a cement floor in it for
you're
what
talking,
we gave them. Now,
Yeah,
now I'm not
60
saying
grand, 65 grand or
finish
so.
it on the inside, not wiring and not that, but you could get that building built, that concrete put in there for what we gave them.
Yeah.
And that's why I couldn't do it. And I had this reverse psychology. I thought, well, if the council will say no to this, I'll guarantee you that company would drop $50,000 to get that job. Would you lose $500,000 over 50 when you've got it padded to the moon?
I don't know the specifics of it. If it was, did they have to have some matching funds of some sort, or was it a requirement of having, was it they have a $500,000 grant, and that was, if they got under 500, they'd be fine.
It was a OCRA grant, the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, and I believe their local match had to be 10%. Does that sound right, Steve?
Well, that's where our money come in, $58,000.
Right.
That was the matching money on it. So,
correction. The state, the OCRA grant, I believe, was 85%. They raised about 5% from both Henry and Delaware County entities. Because, see, the service territory of the Bluntsville Stony Creek Township Volunteer Fire Department, it's more than just Stony Creek. They have about half of Perry Township in southeastern Delaware County. So they had raised money both places. So they raised about 5%, but they came to us for the final 10%. Okay. But I think that was how it was.
It was my theory. And then they came the meeting before, and they cut back their concrete out front. They're already getting $500,000. Let's just call it $500,000. All right, they're already getting that, but they had to shorten where they're going to park their trucks. Like, what was it, 20 feet or something like that? I don't remember the exact figure, but something like that. And those guys that came up to me afterwards at the last council meeting said they even wanted us to shorten the building 10 feet. They're cutting. It's just a pole barn with a little bathroom and
Taj Mahal.
Yeah. So anyway, I voted against it. It's not that I was against firemen. I said then my son is a fireman in Muncie. I've served on the volunteer fire department myself, but that and I wasn't opposed to the council giving them money, but I felt like, well, if we're going to give them money, let's give them the $58,000, put up the building, have a fundraiser, help them out, and do it that way.
Okay.
All right.
So let's move on to our next topic here, which is transparency in our local government and how, because that's been a big issue with talking to candidates. Everybody wants to, or the primary candidates and challengers, wanting to increase the transparency of Henry County government. So we already talked about how in the paper you had your emails published and as half-page ads. We already talked about that whenever we talked about wind farms. But how do you think we could help to implement more transparency in local government? Whether that be trying to make that the courthouse more AV equipment friendly, putting more I don't know. We were just talking about the city council is looking at doing things for live streaming their meetings. What do you think about that?
Granted, Newcastle is a lot smaller than Muncie and Richmond, but I know that Muncie and Richmond's cable TV providers have a public access channel or a local access channel, I believe it's called, and they broadcast, I know Richmond for a fact broadcasts Wayne County Commissioners meetings, Wayne County Council meetings, and Richmond City Council meetings. I know in Muncie, the Muncie City Council meetings are broadcast. I'm not sure if the Delaware County Commissioners and Delaware County Council meetings are broadcast or not, but I know Muncie City Council is. And it'd be nice if we live out in the country. We don't have cable or satellite, so I'm not really that familiar with the cable TV operators here in Newcastle. But it would be nice if one could offer a local access channel.
Well, maybe that could be us one day, Jay.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, we don't have a local. The municipalities or the counties actually collect. There's taxes for everything. There is usually a local tax that goes to the local governments that typically can pay for that. That's on the municipal cable agreements in a community. I know Bloomington has that. I was talking to one of their city
more taxes.
officials. Yeah, I know. But honestly, I think from two guys that have a podcast and in a studio, we've got a $300 camera and a tripod and a few $100s worth of audio equipment, and we're able to put out an HD video every week. I really think you guys probably do have an opportunity to do something like that, and I think the city is looking at going down that line as well.
Sure.
How about times, meeting times?
Yep, we know. Seems like every year Clay Morgan brings up moving the meeting time back because the current one, 3:30 or whatever, it's difficult for anybody to get to.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I work in Newcastle and I get off work at 3, and I'm still rushing if I want to record the meeting.
Same here. Yeah, I can't get off work till 3. So I have to rush to the council meetings.
It's difficult. Do either one of you guys support moving that back, or maybe if we moved it back? I know there's other meetings that happen that day. What about moving it to a separate day to help accommodate that?
I've steadily pushed the meeting time back. When I was first elected to county council, they met at 2.
Oh my God! I didn't know that.
Then we got it pushed to 2:30, then to 3:30. But it seems like the majority of the council doesn't want to move it later than 3:30. But you're right. I mean, it would be helpful to the majority of people who work, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. if the meetings were later.
Yeah. I mean, if I ever decided to run for county council and I left my day job as a maintenance mechanic, and I would have to, if I was elected, I would have to rush to the courthouse covered in oil and grease and work clothing and sit through there like that. So I don't think that it's necessarily a good thing to constituents, and I also don't think it's a good thing to regular people who want to run for the council either. I just don't see the benefits to it.
Steve, what do you think on the transparency side?
I think what we ought to do is not put it on TV or a channel, because people will forget what channel it's on. They'll forget what time it is. But we ought to get a one-call system like churches and schools do. Now, I'm saying this in jest, okay? You're looking at me really, really, really serious.
I'm trying to figure out. I don't spend as much time in churches as you do, Steve. I'm not a pastor, so I don't know what a one-call system is.
Okay, you ought to try it. It'll help.
Is it a phone tree?
No, church. It'll help you, make you a better. Take a good man and make him a better man. Okay, all right. Schools, they have a one-call system. They can call all the parents at one time.
Oh, okay.
Same message. At church, we say we do the one-call system, and all you got to do is record your recording. And I think we ought to put everybody in Henry County on a one-call system and say, the county council meeting is this Thursday at 3:30, and then everybody will get it. And see, if you don't answer your phone, it'll keep calling you back until you do answer your phone. And then what we could do is it just takes that one recording, and you can schedule it, say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and schedule it every day. And that way, nobody in Henry County can say, well, I didn't get a call. I didn't see it in the paper. I didn't know that they did this. I didn't know when it was. So my answer to the best solution that I can come up with is a one-call system. Put everybody's phone number in Henry County on there, and they know if they change their phone or lose their phone, if they want back on that, then they're going to have to call up there and say, hey.
So Butch Baker actually brought up the Nexel system that we have now, and he's been kind of putting out notes from meetings on there. If you sign up, and I know I signed up, but I can't remember the number that I texted to sign up. So
we can go back in the notes and find
we'll
it.
have to go back through.
So
you know I'm not real serious about that. It's just that we have so many people complain about
I didn't see it.
know. We had the meeting. They didn't know where it was. They didn't know where it was at. They didn't know what day it was. Just put them all on a one-call system.
So do you support the 3:30 time for meetings on Wednesdays once a month, or do you think there's a better solution for that?
I'm retired. It don't matter to me. Whenever, and if you've ever seen me in a council meeting when they bring up the dates on anything, I don't care. Said it. I never say. I always say, that's okay.
I'm pretty sure I remember you saying that exact same thing whenever Clay brought it up this year.
I don't care what time you make it. I don't care. I won't come on Sunday, but you got 6 days to set it in. Set it anytime you want. I'll be there.
All right. And then as far as video or audio or a way so that we don't have to have 20,000 people in a room that can hold 300 people?
I think their video things are very good things, Jeremiah. And I think Muncie does that, where they have their meetings on television. I think that's a good thing. I do. I think what you guys are doing here tonight is a very, very good thing. I'm all for it. It's great. It's great. And it can keep people informed. And I said that in jest because we've heard so much complaints about people saying, well, they didn't know, they didn't know, they didn't know. If you want to find out something, you can find it out. I've got this phone. I got this phone a couple months ago. It's really neat. My other one tore up, and I could just squeeze it at the bottom, just kind of like this, And I could say, what time is it?
Yeah.
And it tells me.
The same one I have.
I say,
just squeeze it at the sides.
What's the temperature? It tells me. Henry County website. You pull it right up there. And then I can look and see what time a council meeting is, commissioners meeting is, anything like that. I know everybody don't have a phone like that, but they can find out if they want to know.
If you want to be informed, you can.
You can be. This is an information age, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the golden age of information. Sometimes we have too much information. That's a different topic, though.
There's also been criticism of emails and not using county emails for county business. When I was the president of the park board, I had my personal email, and I probably would have preferred to have had a county email so that all my park board business would have been related there. I guess, would you be in favor of issuing everybody that's on a board or it has some sort of a capacity with the county government using that for county work and everything going through those county methods?
I'll be honest with you. I'm not knowledgeable enough to answer that question. I guess that Jay Jackson or someone like that, who works on computers for the county could let you know, if every appointee to this or that board or commission could have a county email address. I mean, I'll admit, county council, we didn't get a county email address until it was sometime in 2016, correct? It's only been a couple of years.
Mine's never been set up to this day, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I mean, they say I have one, and I've asked about it, and it's never been set up.
And see, mine doesn't work overseas. I've tried to log on overseas. It must be a firewall or something. I can get it when I'm in country, no problem.
That kind of makes sense, though.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that. That does make sense now that you brought it up. So, with the Libertarian Party of Indiana, I'm a county chairman, and they recently set this all up through parent email addresses for the state, and each county now has an email address, and it's just they use the parent email address for the state, and then it just added different names to it, and so mine is henry@lpin.org.
Okay.
So it's a pretty simple system. That I mean, you could set it up, But then you brought up the security features that's on yours currently, and that brings up other requirements that I'm sure you have to have for government emails that I hadn't thought about. So,
right.
All right. So a couple more topics we wanted to talk about. County roads. Everybody, I assume that you each have had your ears full of county roads, and I've got potholes. And
yep.
Steve, your road looks great, but mine looks like crap. So what are you going to do about my county road? What's your policy on county roads, and what's your involvement and your view on what the council's role is?
Okay. I love it. I love a question like this. I really do.
It's open ended.
And well, here's the thing. Now, I hope you'll give Nate this. And like I say before, Nate and I, we don't see things the same. And I'm like this. Man, you and I can have it out. And when it's over with, let's go to lunch together. And that's just the way it is. There is not one more dollar that we can give to the county roads in Henry County. These people that say, we're going to solve the drug problem, we're going to fix the roads, we're going to do all this, to make people think that they're just going to fix all these things. And I'm sitting here, there's no way. You're not going to fix the roads. But here's the thing. We were able to apply. And this is a process. Joe Wiley is our road superintendent. Joe Wiley had been keeping track of all the roads, and it was a long. I'm the liaison to the Henry County Highway Department from the council. So Joe had all this. Any road commissioner had to have that to even be able to qualify for this money that the state offered, the $1 million. And Joe had that. He had everything. And so it took an increase in wheel tax to be able to get that. But we get an extra $1 million from the state of Indiana every year. Now, we have just, this is
community crossings grant.
This is a new thing. So each year we're seeing more roads paved, more roads chipped and sealed, and we're going to continue to see that as long as they keep sending that money. And then we received some money from the state last year, Nate. It was kind of a surprise. It was money that came back to us.
$235,000. Was that it?
Yeah, something like that. And we gave every dollar of that to the county highway department. And we could have taken some of it, put it in rainy day fund, but we gave every dollar of that to the county highway to show that that's how we cared about the roads in Henry County. So you have the highway department's budget that they live within. They have so much money that they can spend on roads. And, there's not that I can see, and Nate may see something that I don't, but I can't see $1 more that we can give. Now, the commissioner's in charge of the road, not the council, and they're over the highway department. We're the financial arm, but we approve the commissioner's budget, and we approve the highway department's budget, and we have done everything within the county council's power to give the highway department what we can give them and what they have to go out and work on the roads and do the best they can. What they need is time now. They have so many months in a year that they can work on the roads, and that's it. And so many dollars to spend, and that's it. And each year we're going to see an improvement, as we already have. But it wasn't there for so long. But now we have taken that step that was available for us. And so we're going to see improvement. But right now, it's set at like 600. We used to say 702 miles, but it's
802.
Yeah. Well, it's actually was it 802?
802. Henry County, of Indiana's 92 counties, we have the most county maintained road mileage of any county.
Okay. So it was
actually... We have the biggest county park and the most road miles.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've got a problem. Have you been downtown Indy lately?
I have.
You talk about a pothole nightmare.
Their potholes are not a unique condition to Henry County, Indiana.
Yeah.
Everybody's got them.
But
although we have some real doozies.
yeah, but
do.
I look at this. We can't micromanage our highway department, and the commissioners work closely with the highway department, and they go out and they have a list of roads this road's top priority. And Joe's came before us a number of times and said, after a winter, we look at it and we may have to change this road and move it up the list
So
because
Nate,
it got worse.
How do you think that we should decide which roads take priority over top of others? Is it based on population density, how bad they are, their usage? What do you think about that?
One thing I learned when Henry County was a member of the former Eastern Indiana Development District, which eventually morphed into the Eastern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, was traffic studies are necessary. Whenever you see the black hose
cables
across the road,
It's
that's
done a
a sign
daily
that the
traffic
traffic count's done. I think that would be a good way to do it.
Yeah.
That would help us prioritize. But, that being said, Joe Wiley and his crew have really done an amazing job with what they have.
Yeah.
He went through some really lean years there at the highway department. But now, thankful to the community crossings grant process that Steve told about from the state, that has really helped us out.
Good.
Well, it's allowed us to, I think Nate, $2,600,000 and some $1,000 a year now that we can put into the roads, and that money has to be spent on roads.
So is that something that's new, or has it been around for a long time that we're just now getting?
It's new. It was passed last year out of the General Assembly.
Correct.
So it's just now. I think you're just now getting ready to move into the first fiscal year with it, right? In January, July.
It benefits counties under 50,000 population at a greater proportion than counties over 50,000.
You get an extra 25% match, basically, or
Yes.
they give you 100, and then you have to put in
correct.
75 to match it.
Yeah. Whereas it's a 1-to-1 match if you're over 50,000 population.
If you guys screw up and grow this county, we're going to lose money. Just saying. A couple more things I guess I want to talk about. Land use. We didn't have it in the show notes, but I want to ask you guys about land use. We've seen the EDC, and there was a very controversial issue that came across the Planning Commission and the county commissioners. Development on County Road 300 South, moving from rural residential to light industrial. And it's just kind of open floor question. I know it's not necessarily a county issue or something that you're going to have to act on, and that the commissioners have already made their decision. But I wanted to give you the opportunity, since you have a soapbox as a county council person, an elected official. Do you have an opinion on redevelopment and if that's potentially the right path forward for that area?
I'll be honest with you, I have not studied that issue in depth and detail as well as I should have. I've been so wrapped up with the campaign lately. But I will say the current Henry County Industrial Park is out of space. I mean, what little acreage is left there is not big enough to build anything on major. That's why now the development has moved south of 400 South, such as Boar's Head, and then the new Dutch company that's coming in, Micronutrients. That's correct.
All right. Steve?
I know Trent Dishman. I like Trent Dishman.
He's one of the partners in that parcel.
Yes. And when I say I know him, I haven't known Trent a long time. But I know Trent, and from now and then, we run into each other or have a conversation on the phone. And it came up here a month ago or sometime. It was before the commissioners voted. And I said, "Hey, I seen your name in the paper or seen something." And he said, Yeah. I said, "What are you doing, man?" And he said, "Well," he said, he said, "Mr. Duggar," he said, "I'm going to be honest with you." He said, "We have not talked to anybody that is interested in this land." But he said, I got to thinking, he said, I farm and we do what we do. And he said, I just thinking one day that, I'd like to be remembered for something. And he said, wouldn't it be neat? He said, if maybe some factory came or some place came that could employ a lot of people and provide families with a good income. He said again, and he emphasized this several times, he said, we don't have anybody in mind. He said, but we was thinking, here's this land. We can farm it. and grow beans and corn on it, but it could be used for the possibility of maybe growing Henry County, or maybe bringing jobs to Henry County. He said that is the only thing that I had in mind. And I don't think Trent would make that up and just, and have some ulterior motive or anything. He was sincere, and I don't see.
If we grow the population too much, we're going to miss out on that road.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right. Well, the thing we do, Dakota,
population doesn't.
Is
that's right. Yeah,
is we'll have to tell them that if they get hired here, they have to live in another county.
Yeah,
that's what we'll do.
Solution,
put that on.
I think.
Yeah. So there you go.
We've got I guess one more thing we talked about, Steve, earlier on the phone. I did make the show notes. You've got you've been serving or involved in the county doesn't have a sewer system, but we have some houses in the county that are tied into Newcastle sewers. White Estates. So there's going to be a hearing coming up next week, I guess, for White Estates, and then there's a LOIT meeting as well that's coming.
That's 1 week from today.
1 week from today, the 10th.
LOIT meeting with the council and the commissioners will be at 6 p.m., and then the joint meeting between city council and county commissioners will be at 7 p.m. And the joint meeting is specifically to go over the White Estates sewage issue.
So, I guess, can you give us a preview of each of those and what you're thinking is going to come out of those meetings? Or what you've been briefed on or what you're expecting?
Yeah, basically the public safety LOIT meeting, we want to kind of project into the future to make sure we're still, holding back a portion of that for like a public safety LOIT rainy day fund, as it were. And, just projecting into anticipated revenues for 2019. Okay.
And then the future of my plumbing, Steve. What's happening with White Estates?
Well, it's going to cost you more money, Jeremiah.
Shockingly.
Yeah. But you're going to get a good deal out of this, though.
Please tell me more.
You're going to get a
like
big
a
bang
snake
for
oil
your
salesman over there.
Do you live in White Estates?
I do. I live on Jeffrey Street.
There's like 220, I think, some houses, I believe. And yes, I was in the meeting. A lot of people were there at that meeting, and it was kind of a last moment thing, I guess, that I was called and asked, is there any way I could attend it? I said, yeah, I'll went in with work clothes, dirty, but you know what? Yeah, I went. Obviously, there's a big problem out there in White Estates. The sewer system's broke down. It's just not working now. I don't mean to jump around, but there are some people in White Estates that are still on septic and not hooked to that probably have a perfectly good working system. But it's going to take everybody hooking onto this system. And I think, and here's the good news, they're going to put a new grinder pump in everybody's yard, and they're going to furnish the pump, and you're not going to have to pay for that. What you are going to have to pay for, I don't know if I'm supposed to, I don't know if all this has came out or not. I don't know. I'm just telling you the outcome of the meeting is that the homeowner will be responsible hooking to the grinder pit. And I think the increase is going to be about $32 or something like that. What's your sewage bill now?
Well, I filled my pool this month, so it's not going to be very nice next month. But this week, I think it was about $52, $53, somewhere in there, for 2 units. The water's cheap. The sewage is what's expensive now.
80% increase or whatever.
Yeah, it's going to add 60 or 70%.
I think.
That's in a low month. When I have a big month, it'll be worse.
Don't hold me to it, but I believe the increase is going to be about $30-some. Of course, the county is responsible for this, and we've had, I haven't been working on it, but a lot of people have, and it's a problem that's got to be fixed. And so the people that are there, are going to have to help pay for that project.
Jeremiah,
and it's
you're going to get out your checkbook. You got
over
a couple $1 million project to pay for.
Well, you bring these county councilmen in here. You just learned tonight. You're just going to be spending money on a jail. You're going to be spending money on sewer, roads. What else?
Well, our congressman was in town. I'm sure I bought some bombs this week too.
Yeah.
All right. So final topic we have on the programming is White Estate, or not White Estates. States is the Doughboy Memorial Park. There's a statue out there that has become the political football of the millennium. There was a group of people, and we've told the story a number of times on here, that came to the Memorial Park Board, said, hey, we want to restore the Doughboy, and they wanted to relocate it as part of their plan. Park Board approved it. After that, there's been this big controversy that's come along, and now there are people that are advocating for a second Doughboy. So the question we're asking, I guess, Dakota, is would the council pay for a second Doughboy?
Yeah, well, so we did some research a while back, and we found out it would cost about $20,000 to $30,000 to allocate funds for a second Doughboy, to buy a second Niski Doughboy and put him in the park. As the financial wing of the county, if the park board came to you and asked for that, it would fall in your lap. Would you support that?
I'm an Army veteran, but I would defer to the park board's judgment on that.
And so if they said we need this here, because I would imagine that if they did come to you and ask for that, it would be because they had voted that they needed a new one. That
sounds to me more like a potential food and beverage tax project request.
Okay.
Yeah, more so than a park budget, and certainly not a general fund request.
All right. What about you, Steve?
You're asking the question: would you support using $20,000 to $30,000 from the budget?
Yes.
No, sir. I would not support it.
All right. There we go.
Very good.
We got through everything.
We made it through. I'll tell you what, having two elected officials on at one time is exhausting, Dakota.
Yeah, we did so much. Ron Rahman wants to know if you're going to run the mini marathon this weekend.
I can't because it's sheep shearing day for us Saturday.
Oh, okay. My neighbor he runs a lot, and he says that he sees you out all the time.
Yep.
And he says you always run in the same white tank top that says Nate LaMar County Council.
This time of year, yes.
Nate ran in our, we used to have the Clover Fun Run, or the Clover 5K at Memorial Park, and Nate ran in that a few times.
I was doing the Newcastle mini marathon, though, June 23rd.
There you go. I won't be running in it because
we'll be at the Libertarian Convention.
I'm not a big runner.
On Saturday, giving a big presentation while they're out there running. All right, so we're at the point in the show where we do final thoughts. Steve, we're going to let you go first. This is where people can, you're raising money as a candidate, so
I'm not raising money.
This is where I say all candidates should be raising money because you got a re-election and yada yada yada. So this is where the people can donate. They can come work the polls. They can help you out, learn more about you. How do they get in touch? All of that.
All right. Well, since my phone number's hard to find, I guess. I'm Steve Duggar. My phone number is 765-730-5201. Anybody can have it. I don't care. Call me. Don't like our conversation. Oh, well, that I don't have to listen to you. You don't have to listen to me. But if you ask me a question, I'll sure give you an answer. I will. I can't, I'm just a straightforward guy. I really am. And to be in the job that I've been in, I get along well with people. I do. And I think being in the ministry, a lot of people may have, when I first ran, underestimated this. Steve Duggar, where's he from? Was he, but there's been a lot of, I do a lot of funerals. I do. A lot of weeks, I may have 2 funerals, 3 funerals a week. And that's a lot, I think. Mine has been, I have a friend of mine, he's done more than me. He's done over 600. That's a lot of funerals. And on his 600th one, they had a special day at the funeral home for him, it's just that he and I both, we do a lot. My brother's a pastor here, but, you see, we help a lot of people. And, if I was there with your family when your mother passed away, your father passed away, your grandfather, and I was there at the hospital, I was driving back and forth to Indy just because you asked me to.
Sure.
A lot of people don't forget that. They don't forget you marrying their children. And I think that by being at a lot of places, speaking at a lot of places, that people got to know me. And so, going down the road of running for county council was just something I thought. I'd like to do. I'd like to try that, and I did, and I wasn't sure that I'd run for another term, but I've decided that I would. And like I said earlier in the program, that if I'm elected, it'll be the Lord's will, and if I'm not, it won't be. So I appreciate, though, I know that there'll be people that will support me, and I appreciate their confidence in me. I appreciate their support. I really, really do, because their vote is a vote of confidence. It is, and I thank them in advance for that.
Very good. Well, we're excited you're here today with us, Steve. Nate, final thoughts on your side. If people want to volunteer, get out the vote, any of that stuff, kick in some more money to the campaign fund.
My home phone number is in the phone book, but it is 765-836-5401. You can also find out more about me through my website. It's just NateLaMar.com. But the reason why I'm running is to create a better Henry County for my daughters. When my daughters go off to college, I want them to have the option to return to meaningful employment here in Henry County. I know many, many parents out there would like the same, but unfortunately the reality is the majority of Henry County children who we send off to college don't return here. I would like to help reverse that, not only for children who grew up in Henry County, but also to attract more people from elsewhere to our county. We have an awful lot here to be proud of. I remember a colleague, Draper, who is originally from Cincinnati. She told me one time, "You guys don't realize what you have here." And I said, such as, and she just rattled off Summit Lake State Park, Westwood Lake, Memorial Park. And she said, very few places have that. And so I'm all about quality of life and quality of place and improving that here in Henry County for the next generation.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, both of you guys, for being here. This has been a good episode, Dakota.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. So I have some final thoughts, I guess. And that is that the tinfoil time topic for Tuesday that we actually did chemtrails, because we wanted to touch on something that was not as far out there, because we've talked about, Queen Elizabeth being a cannibal.
You're going to ruin these guys' credibility completely now at this point.
We've
Put
always talked
on,
about.
Nate. Don't listen to this part.
We've talked about really obscure things until this point, and we were like, you know what? Let's get to something and do some digging of things that people, a lot of people, really believe in. So that's where we went with that one. I thought it ended up pretty good. It was more free flowing this time, and we changed it. $5 a month gets you access to that. It's 17 cents a day. You can also get access to the private Facebook group that we have. There's a lot. We've added different merchandise that you get if you subscribe, and we've done a pretty good job of handling that. And I really. Okay, you said it was a maybe on that studio space. I really liked it. I have a vision already.
Well, we're negotiating. Let's not tell the potential landlord or a yes yet.
I'm not
have
saying
you learned
yes.
nothing from
I'm
our
just
president?
saying that the vision I have in my head is awesome.
It's very, very plausible. I'm excited about the prospects.
I'm looking forward to getting our new equipment as well, and I'm also looking forward to giving our big presentation on Saturday at the Libertarian Party of Indiana State Convention.
That's it. So we are giving a 45-minute presentation. You, myself, and Danny Lundy from Morgan County. The three of us are basically talking about this show in front of about 100, 150 libertarians.
Talk about how we became so wildly successful.
Yeah, by libertarian standards. And then we get to meet the keynote at that thing. I think you probably can still buy a convention package. If you want to go see us or you're interested in it, it's at the Marriott Hotel downtown Indy on Saturday. The keynote is going to be from Governor Bill Weld, former Republican governor of Massachusetts. So we're going to get to hang out with him a little bit on Saturday. He was the vice presidential nominee for the Libertarian Party, and he's not quietly looking at running for president as a libertarian. So he's going to all these conventions and kicking the idea around, and I'll get to meet him for the first time this weekend. We'll have a firsthand account of a governor.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, and it's going to be a good convention.
So Tuesday next week, we're going to do our election night show. We're going to call in and try to get Steve or Nate. We can call Steve on his cell phone. Nate, I guess we'll have to call the house and have them transfer it over to a cell phone or something because we only got his 836 number. But we're going to try to get some of these guys on Tuesday. Have live election results. We'll see what happens in the 6th district race, Democrat and Republican side. David Letterman was in town. I missed him by 30 seconds yesterday. Yeah. Jenny Lake.
Jeananne Lee Lake.
Yeah, if she's our congresswoman, we'll know it this time next year.
Yeah.
But she had a campaign event at the caffeinery, and David Letterman stopped by and gave her a fistful of cash, apparently. So she got a little money bump from Dave yesterday.
Good for her.
I literally drove by on my way home from my way back to work from lunch and saw her car and said, "Man, I should stop in." And I didn't. And I was like, I hadn't met her yet, and I was like, I just want to stop in and meet her. And I said, no, I won't. My instincts told me I should have, and I should have listened because literally within 30 seconds of that, I would have met David Letterman.
Always listen to your gut.
I know. I didn't do it. I doubted myself, and then I got back to the office and went, oh, my God. So missed it. So that was really cool. And then so we're gonna report results on that. And then Thursday the 10th, while these guys are out raising my taxes, we're gonna we're gonna have a show just amongst the cast members, kind of kicking around the results of the election and doing a little preview and just talking amongst ourselves. We're gonna have a fun episode, so looking forward to that. We will see you all on Tuesday night.
See you guys later.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network. And I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at wearelibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, libertarians, independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to wearelibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at wearelibertarians.com.